welcome to the program. I am DEJI360. Now, Nigeria's House of Representatives is currently deliberating on some bills that are likely to generate strong reactions in the coming days. Let's talk about two of the bills now. The Green Chamber recently passed for second reading a bill to establish ecclesiastical courts in Nigeria, which is more or less a Christian version of the Sharia court. The reps also passed for second reading a bill to give a time limit for presidents and governors to choose their ministers and commissioners respectively. Now, on the ecclesiastical courts, the bill seeks to amend the 1999 Constitution. The court, a replica of the Sharia Court of Appeal, is expected to be established now across the country to complement the regular courts. The bill, which has been sponsored by Gyang Estefanos Dong, that's an honorable member now from Plateau State, defines the functions and jurisdiction of the courts as well as the qualifications of the presiding judges. According to him, the ecclesiastical court, when established, shall complement the regular courts in adjudicating in matters relating to the tenets of the Christian faith between individuals and groups that yield and submit to its jurisdiction, and shall exercise such appellate and supervisory jurisdiction in civil proceedings involving questions of ecclesiastical law and Christian personal law. The judges shall be cardinals drawn from the Christian faith. Now, the bill is also being co-sponsored by 8 other lawmakers. Since the bill scaled second reading, there have been reactions both within and outside the chambers. While some say the bill is a way to balance the existence of Sharia courts in some parts of the country, others say it may further lead to religious unrest. Now, legal practitioners are also divided on the issue. Some lawyers think it's a welcome development considering the two major religions in the country, while others differ, saying it may start agitation for more specialized courts by other faiths. Imagine if the traditional worshippers now came up with their own request now that, you establish a specialized court for them. But we'll just wait and see how all of this will pan out. Now, let's talk about the second bill, which is on the time limit for president and governors to pick their cabinet. Representative Solomon Adelu from Abia State is actually sponsoring the bill and says the president's delay in forming his cabinet is partly responsible for the economic situation the country is currently going through. He argues that the delay made investors wary, not knowing the policy direction of the government. Now, the proposed amendment to sections 132 and 147 of the 1999 Constitution seeks to impose a constitutional 30-day time limit for an elected president and state governor to present nominated ministers and commissioners to the Senate and State Houses of Assembly for approval from the date of taking the oath of office and allegiance. According to the lawmaker, the 30-day time limit is ideal upon swearing into office. The president would have had 60 days prior to his inauguration now to prepare his cabinet names, and also 30 days after inauguration to complete final vetting of his nominations. He said the combined 90 days now is enough to put together a cabinet for any serious government. Joining me to discuss these two issues is constitutional lawyer Onyekachi Ubani. Mr. Bani, thank you. Mr. Ubani, by the way, is the second vice president of the Nigerian Bar Association. Mr. Ubani, thank you very much for joining us on the program. First, let's talk about these ecclesiastical court. What's your take on it? I mean, it's surprising we're discussing this at this time.
I think our politicians, usually tend to generate and create problems where there are none, and I think they benefit from generating problems in the system. There is so much gain when they do all that, especially keeping the people divided, whereas they go about the business of raping the country. So I do not personally see the necessity of that ecclesiastical court in Nigeria, for now. If you look at our constitution, section 10, it says that the country is a secular state. For God's sake, that the state should not dabble into religious affairs. It should not adopt any state religion whatsoever. It was even wrong for us to have Sharia, in the constitution. Now, the member representing a particular constituency from Plateau State want to generate unnecessary crisis Further, in the polity, already the polity is already having enough of crisis. And somebody is busy creating another one by this ecclesiastical court bill that is being presented. I don't think that that is what Nigerians need at this point in time. What Nigerians need is dividends of democracy. They want to have 3 solid square meals in a day. They want to have accommodation, I mean, good shelter. They want to have their roads, done. They want to have electricity. They want to have a hospital where they can go for medical treatment. They want to have functional schools. So these are the things that our lawmakers should actually be putting their minds on, and then ensuring that those things are provided for, and not this issue of creating an ecclesiastical court, which do not in any way add anything to the lives of individual Nigerians. I don't think that is necessary, honestly. To me, I see it as generation and creation of unnecessary crisis in the polity, which is not healthy for us as a nation.
I agree with you because, if we continue this way, the question is, what happens if traditional worshippers, Ogun worshippers, Shango worshippers, and worshippers of other, deity in this country, quite a number of them, if they came up tomorrow to say they want a specialized court for themselves. And then you talk about, this lawmaker said cardinals will be appointed as judges. Which cardinals now? Are we referring to Catholic cardinals or cardinals from where?
As I said earlier, this particular bill or law, when it passed and probably signed into law, will generate and create more crises than it's set out to solve. You have raised the issue, even in the Christendom, in the Christian religion, there are so many factions. We have the Catholic, we have the Anglicans, we have the Pentecostal, and even within the Pentecostal membership, we have different versions. And so who is actually qualified to preside over such a court that is being contemplated at this point, And as you also rightly pointed out, there are other really religious people in the country. There are those who don't even believe that God exists. They also maybe want to, apply that they have their own court, different from the normal court. And then the other traditional worshippers also want to have their own courts also. So there are so many things that this bill, if allowed to see the light of the day, will generate in the polity. So our lawmakers actually should try as much as possible to solve problem in the polity and not creating problem and and then allow that problem to linger. That in the end, it polarizes the state, it polarizes the people, and then create more confusion in the polity, and that shouldn't be the aim of lawmaking. Lawmaking is to ensure that there is orderliness and peace in the polity. So I see this law as creating and generating problem for the nation and not solving anything whatsoever. Many others will come up with the demand that they should also be given their own courts. And at what point in time are you going to stop the creation of court? Because you have created it for the Muslims, you have created it for the Christians, so why not also create it for the traditional worshippers? And there are so many versions of traditional worshippers, and they come with their variants, and you must also comply with their demand, because what is good for the goose is also good for the gander. So I think something is fundamentally wrong with that bill that is presently before the House. And I thought that the leadership of the House should have halted the presentation of that particular bill and then do not allow it to see the light of the day. But the way it is going, I understand that it has passed second reading. That shouldn't be the priority of any serious government at this point in time. The people are really clamoring for good governance.
Okay, let's quickly talk about the second bill now. What's your take on it? The bill that seeks to impose a time limit, a time limit now for the president and governors to set up their cabinets. Remember, it took President Muhammadu Buhari, close to 6 months or so to set up his own cabinet after he came into office. And there are actually states in this country today, a good example, some people have said, is Osun State, where the governor is yet to set up a cabinet. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, DEJI, ordinarily, when you win an election, I'm sure when you set out to contest an election, you must have had in mind that you will win. And of course, because of the fact that you have set out to win, you must also start to build your cabinet. You begin to assemble the people you work with, should you win that election. It's not even something that we should remind people who have actually contested the election that they should within a specified time, assemble the people they want to work with in order to deliver whatever promises they have made to the people. But in the light of what has happened, in the light of our experience, necessity has become the mother of invention, and maybe that is the reason why somebody is coming with this piece of legislation in order to ensure that those who have won should be reminded their responsibility. I mean, you are watching what is going on in America. Immediately, Trump was declared the winner. The current president invited him to the White House, and they sat down and he gave him a proper briefing. And before you know it, the man started to assemble those he will want to work with when he's sworn in January. That is where it is expected for people who are contesting election. They must have in mind that they will win. In the light of this, I don't see anything fundamentally wrong in maybe having a law that will remind office holders when they come in, especially on the executive, that they should appoint people they want to work with. So I say kudos to that law. Ordinarily, we are not supposed to be talking about that. It should be taken as given. I mean, when you win, you should get your cabinet assembled. But now that we have discovered that people are not ready to do all that, and somebody has come up with this idea that let's have a law in place and then a timeline within which to appoint those you work with as commissioners and as ministers, I don't see anything wrong. I will not criticize that piece of legislation. It's okay, provided that is complied with. And any person that disobeys that law should be impeached, because it's not a constitutional matter, and if it is not obeyed, I mean, it's now a legal thing. If it's not obeyed, then it becomes an impeachable offense. Yeah.
Well, Mr. Onyekachi Ubani, the second Vice President of the Nigeria Bar Association, thank you very much for joining us on the program, and thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us.
My pleasure, my brother.
We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll be talking about something else. Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on DEJI360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.